So let me start with the session. Hi, guys. I'm Vandana. You can see my name there, of course. I am from Bangalore, and I am the founder of Zua Life. At Zua Life, we support people who are navigating transitions, whether it's in work, life, relationships. Of course, career is a huge part of it when we talk about work. And this session is designed specially for people who are navigating transitions or thinking of navigating transitions, or even looking at how can they work differently in work. So you may still continue to work, but still want to do more than what you're doing. So this is a session on what do you mean by having a portfolio of careers, or what is it like to navigate a journey like this? And we have with us Suchit, Praful, and Sanjay, who are in this journey, who have tested various modalities and would love to share the experience. I will be moderating this session. With much, without taking more time, I'm just going to hand it over to each one of them to do their introductions. We can start with you, Suchit, and then Praful and Sanjay. That's how you appear on my screen. So,
thank you very, very much. But first of all, let me thanks to you, Vandana. I think it matters a lot to be in part of this discussion because me spending last 2 years on my own journey, right, and expressing that journey and giving a few of the tips or an understanding of what I'm going through and how I'm crossing the respective milestone as by my own journey of being, you can say, an entrepreneur. I'll be very glad and thanks for giving that opportunity, Vandana. Just brief about me and hardly a minute and a half kind of a thing. This brief is that I was an ex-CTO for Hexaware, which is an IT company. Post that, I started my own kind of venture you can think of, and the name which I given is Space Beyond AI, and it's specifically for building a talent architecture for India. And the reason being is that every person in India currently and after AI, specifically from the graduation level till the 25-year experience kind of thing, they are going to go through a complete talent inflection points. And one time in history is what's going to happen, right? Somehow I have kind of a very good blend of technology and then leadership kind of thing, right? So I've been working with various different institutes, ITs, IIMs, and most of places where I'm helping to build and kind of change the mindset for an AI, specifically the Chief Technology Officer program when I'm running IT Kanpur, and then forward deployed engineering in IT Roorkee. So that's a brief background from my side on that. Thank you very much.
thank you so much, Suchit. I'm just trying to do some admin stuff at the same time. And of course, like always, technology is going to challenge you every time you do an online session. So over to you, either of you, Sanjay or Praful.
I'll let Sanjay go in first.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Praful. And thank you, Zua Life and Vandana, for inviting me for this event. It's always a pleasure being part of this session. So I'm based out of Bangalore. I currently work full-time with a company called MathWorks, which is a software products company based in US, and I lead the India marketing operations for the company. I've been in the corporate life for 25 years now, a long time. And why I'm here that over a period of last few years, I've been also trying to build my own portfolio of things, keeping my full-time job intact, working on some of the areas which I'm interested in terms of helping people, especially young professionals, early career professionals, realize their potential. So I do quite a bit of work on that, I would say, portfolio of jobs on that to make sure that I'm also aligned with some of the latest things, as well as I spend more energy on the things I love. Praful, over to you.
That's awesome, Sanjay. Vandana, thank you. Thank you for curating this and giving me the opportunity. I believe, in addition, and I think we've spoken about this in the past, in addition to the occupational part of our work, there's a preoccupation part of our lives, right? And I think your topic focuses or balances both the occupation and the preoccupation, and helps. And hopefully, during this discussion, we'll be able to address some of the issues people experience in this. I would call it the second midlife crisis. And first, based on popular belief, it is the early mid 30s. But the second midlife crisis is very important because relevance becomes important, longevity becomes important, and therefore, so here I am hoping to offer my 2 cents. You had earlier introduced me to the panel as a serial entrepreneur. I find that almost like a serial killer or something. So can we call it compulsive entrepreneur, which is less dramatic, with equal amount of intrigue in there. I've had a string of scintillating successes in this journey of entrepreneurship, and of course, not without some fabulous failings as well. So hopefully, it'll bring some gravitas, whatever I say. The word portfolio resonates very well with me because I currently carry a portfolio on my shoulders. One, of course, as an entrepreneur of my startup, as an advisor or a co-founder to a couple of other startups, advisor and mentor to friends and former colleagues in their startups or in their corporate life. Founded 2 nonprofits and very active with that. And almost like project managing some new big initiatives. With my alma mater, I'm associated as part of their incubator program. So help with that. And of course, estate manager for my 100-year-old family estate, my joint family estate, that comes with the baggage of being the eldest in the joint family. So, so that is, I would say, a portfolio in addition to husband, father, what have you, neighbor. So nice to meet you all, and lovely to have so many wonderful participants here.
Thank you so much, Praful. And yes, great to add that to all our portfolios. Of course, being a homemaker, a wife, a mother, a cook, driver, chauffeur, whatever you might want to call. And but Sanjay did a very small introduction. He's just to let anybody who might be interested to know, he's a podcaster and runs a very interesting podcast. I'll ask him to speak about it a little more. And he also mentors, teaches, does some awesome stuff on the weekends while he holds his full-time job. And totally respect you for that, Sanjay. So are we ready to start the session, everyone? Yes. So just to start with you, Sanjay, how does having this kind of a portfolio in your life alongside your full-time job look like to you? What is it like?
Sure. So my training has been, as most people do, in engineering and then some management, and got into corporate life immediately after that. I'm right on campus. And it has been all throughout working on sales, business development, marketing, and related areas. Span many continents as a typical technology professional does during those times. So over a period of time, obviously I made a lot of connections. I made networking, probably to say that. And also maybe over a period of time, I also was trying to distill on what I'm good at and what I like. And that kind of intersection of what I'm good at and what I like. So I did many things. One thing probably it's a little bit in my blood. Both my parents were teachers, and maybe they wanted me to become a teacher, but I didn't by choice at that time. But I do love. I don't know whether it should be called teaching, but helping young professionals as well as students by teaching in some of the local MBA college and also in some of mentoring some of the very young professionals. And I also, Praful, and I hear that you have founded some NGOs. I work closely with at least a couple of NGOs, one of them in helping them build up some kind of a technology stack, and also the other one helping that organization which is focused on women empowerment, especially girls empowerment in STEM education. So that is something which I like. I continue to do that for students, young professionals. I met a lot of first-time managers and young professionals apart from my regular life. Then as Vandana was mentioning, some of my areas of interest. So, and I talk about it a little bit later, but I think I kind of tried, experimented a lot of stuff to find out what I probably like. And maybe now I'm in a stage where I'm trying to figure out what I like more, because there is always a struggle of time, always a limit paucity of time, right? Especially when you have a corporate life. So all this I'm doing along with the corporate life. So of course I work with some of the startups, mentor them, coach them in founders of the startup, or sometimes they want some help on GTM, marketing strategies, and all those which I do. And the podcast, which I just want to probably spend a little bit of my time, this started off as a medium. So as a marketer, I was always interested in getting my message across to the other person in a way that the person understands. And that has been my passion. So if you can see that in most of the stuff which I do, communication has been an underlying stuff. And I'm like very passionate about communication. I think that's probably where I get to influence a lot of people inside my organization as well as outside my organization. So around the COVID time, when podcasts were getting a little bit into the limelight, very early time, I actually experimented medium with one of my very, very young friends. Like actually my friend's daughter, she's a Gen Z, and I'm a Gen X. So we did this podcast called Exchanges, X as in Gen X, and then Z, X as in Gen Z. So Exchanges, which is a conversation between the Gen X and the Gen Z. So we had some interesting conversation during COVID time, right? So we had a little bit more of time with us. And that was good. So that moved me into the podcast area. And then I'm a big time sucker of podcasts. So I listen to like 3-4 hours of podcasts in a week. So that comes in. And then what happened recently, what I'm doing is something which I felt in corporate life, which people are struggling with, especially when you are working in multicultural, multinational environments, when you have to communicate to people who are not from your cultural background and impress upon them, gain your visibility, and these things are all very common in corporate life. I was finding that introverts were getting really sidelined, unfortunately, inadvertently in many cases. That was not being understood. You expected to speak, you are expected to be visible, but like I'm an introvert, what do I do? And I'm personally also a introvert, but I work through it. And then I can wear the ambivert role, which is an introvert plus an extrovert role in select situations, and make sure that I perform well wherever it is required. So that is a skill which I've developed over a period of time. And now I'm actually writing very consciously. Actually, in my LinkedIn, every Friday I write about that. So tomorrow is Friday, so you can check out my LinkedIn and I will write about that. And also I did one season of a podcast with one of my good friends on introversion, where actually I interviewed people from multiple functions and which are considered so-called extroverted by myth. For example, sales. People don't think that how can an introvert be a salesperson? So I brought an introvert, and then we had a conversation on how he actually is doing well in sales. Similarly, I brought marketing. Similarly, I brought somebody who's an actor. And she talked about that, and she went on to win a reality competition. You just cannot think about that. Okay, an introvert winning a reality competition. So I brought a few people, child psychologists, talking about introversion in kids and all those, and that I feel has struck a chord or more chords with many people around. Of course, they are not coming and commenting on my LinkedIn because they are introverts and they are reaching out to me on personally through WhatsApp and all. And so I continue to do that. And that's, I mean, I'm hoping that I'll get into a second season soon. So all these things which I do are related to communication and my experiences. So I see my corporate life as a platform than a destination. And I am trying to spend my energy, of course, time is energy during my off time from work to make sure that these things happen, which gives me pleasure. And there are so something to end with is that there are people who reach out to me after years saying that, "Oh, Sanjay, what you wrote actually is working well for me." So that gives me the satisfaction at this point in time. But I hope I covered that well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sanjay. And it's interesting, especially your podcast on introvertism has been very interesting. And why entrepreneurship? I don't know how do you wear multiple hats while doing that. Uh, I mean, it's a tough journey. You're doing mentoring, advising, and then of course supporting foundations, running. Not for profit yourself. So, tell us more about it.
Well, just I don't think it's a Superman thing. When you have help as co-founders and other things, it just adds. It's a force multiplier. But yes, it's like managing a portfolio, like people talk about. But I didn't come here as out of a choice into the space. It was more the preoccupation that got me into this occupation. The preoccupation was this compulsive need for, or rather, let's put it the other way, a healthy disregard for a boss, a need for autonomy and independence. So, but there were headwinds. I started, and both times, both my undergrad, much like Sanjay, engineering and postgrad in management. There was a campus uh, startup, followed by a corporate job, which included a boss and a hierarchy and stuff, and a revulsion to DIY. So, so that it was more like something inside is driving you, so that it allows you to do a lot of things. You want to make money, you want to do good, and somehow things fall into place. You get into a certain cadence. You discipline yourself. Earlier, although people say engineers are better disciplined, but no. If you remember your good old undergrad days or your postgrad days, um, the last minute preparation for an exam or a submission or something. So you had to really come out of that. And it took 10, 15 long years to get used to a certain cadence, which allows you to also do a similar thing with policies. For example, one thing that you and I would have experienced, Vandana, was, okay, we will not write vendor checks every day. Initially, it would be once a week when you're small, or the moment you become larger, twice a month. So that's a cadence, right? And only then can you manage your time, other people's time, expectations, and even your mindset for that matter. So that's how you can wire your mind. So if that's a secret sauce.
Good to hear that, Praful. So for you, I mean, you've spoken about it and you told us while you were introducing that, tell us more. How was it a conscious choice? How did it happen? CTO to becoming an entrepreneur. Just a little more if you would like to add to what you've already shared with us.
No, I think it's important. I think, of course. But of course, I'll let you know that I never had kind of a midlife crisis. I still not tell my age to my friends, and they still behind me to steal my Aadhaar card so that they can get my real age and all, right? So I never had a midlife crisis in a way. But it is very important for all of the people who are hearing me, right? It's very important that when you're in corporate life and when you want to decide something, right? There should be some purpose for it, and that's what I stuck up for a long period to figure out that. But somehow situation forced, let me be honest on the part, that when I decided to move on from Hexaway, right? So I had other options, and when I was about to when I was about to join there, right, and I got to know that there is a structural changes in the respective companies from where I got the offer, right? And those structural changes, which has not been planned for or not thought for, right? Because I've been always in CXO kind of a thing, so I was not ready to compromise anything. That small gap of 2 months made me to really think through only one thing, is that what is the value I carry? I mean, if I carry the value and through my life, or what people listening to me is because of the corporate tag which I had. I am from Accenture, I am from Infosys, I was from Hexaware, I'm a CTO. Uh, but what if I don't go with that tag? What the value I carry? Do really people hire me for anything of that sort, right? That's a big question.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of you might have, and everyone might have kind of thing. And that's something,
Right.
yeah, and that's something which I confronted myself and saying that, hey, you know what if I don't have the tag? Would I be able to create anything for myself, right? And that actually made me to. And anyways, another thing is that I was looking for a larger canvas. So the last was like, taking care of 27,000, 30,000 people in Exave, right? And then engineering and their capabilities, skills, and everything as a CTO, right? So that was my thing was. And then I said, hey, what the larger canvas could be? So then I thought, hey, why not the India as a larger canvas, right? Why shouldn't I think about it in that way, right? And then that's a journey I began with, and then I connected with IIT Kanpur, IIT Roorkee, General Bajaj, and then many of other things. And then when I said that, hey, this is what I want, this is what I'm purpose altogether, right? And thankfully, they given me a first lot. I mean, to say the way, always I start every batch of CTO, every batch of Roorkee, I'm the one who generally start off with, right? And that is really what I'm really getting. And I mean, almost now 2,000 people or 2,000 kind of
Wow.
overall people which I train, almost all 2,500 hours of training, working with all those people and try to see whether I can change their mindset and skill set both. And why I like that I'm doing it all together, though I'm going to talk about also what are the other aspect which personally I'm going to go through in terms of economic kind of crisis and everything as part of the further discussions. But what I'm liking today is, I mean, the way Sanjay and then Praful has talked about, right? What the two quadrant, right? The way what you're good at it and what you like, right? These are the two quadrant, Praful and then Sanjay must have heard of it, right? At least I'm able to tick mark both. Now, whether I'm able to make things out of it is what I'm in a current state of, the transition phase, and which is good to have kind of thing, right? And that's the way you work. But what I liking now most is like this, okay? So when I went to India AI Delhi Summit, right? Uh, I'm able to connect every person over there just because of the one what I'm doing currently, right? Because everyone is having a big question in their head is that for AI, what the mindset and skills do I need to change? And there is no specific an answer by everyone. And somehow I'm able to do that to as a part of an IIT Roorkee where there's a very young people, right? 4 year to 10 years experience. So forward deployed engineering, which is a very advanced engineering of an AI, which I generally start my session with that. And then CTO who are very highly experienced. So what I liked about both the experiences that when I was in India here, right? Generally, I see that I'm sitting in the conference room. There will be always people next to me. It's a very young people, extremely young, and they will try to talk to me, saying that, hey, at least this gray color hair guy can at least help me out some other way, right? so, so, and then when I used to talk to the panelists, right, the people who are actually presenting, very senior people, right? So they used to connect with because they used to see that, let's say, when I was talking to Bharat Jain is our LLM, right? So when I talk to Rishi, he said, Suchit, you can be very helpful for me because what are the product you're building? You can try it with my platform, right? So I'm able to connect with all those people for different reasons, right? Then I thought, let me continue with that, and I'm continuing with that. So that's a brief, Vandana. It's not by design, but in quest for myself to give me. And then last part from myself, of course, I'm very lucky that I have a wife who's working. Let me be honest on that part too also. Let me be realistic on that part. So she has actually made me to, uh, she helped me to really ensure that I can. Of course, she's been very patient. So far. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, that's what my brief
Helps.
background.
Thank you so much for sharing that. But what a way of redesigning your next career or whatever you want to do in life. That's what you spoke about, the support at home, and is something that we're going to ask each one of you. What we are going to do is I have some questions and I'm going to float them around, and please answer them. So what mattered most while you were making these choices? You were making this choice of, from different aspects. Um, what was that you were thinking about while making these choices? Sanjay, somehow you have briefly touched that, but you can start with it.
Yeah, so I think I can relate to a few things which other panelists are also saying, Praful and Sujit. And Sujit, you talked about a larger canvas. So now for me, the larger canvas is not a lot of people because in IBM, I mean, my earliest thing was in IBM, and IBM, I used to have a larger team. And I very deliberately moved to this current company where I was building a team from scratch. And I love that experience because I wanted to get my hands dirty. And it was not happening when you have a large team. You don't get that opportunity to get your hands dirty. And I want to be the thick of things by function of sales, business development, marketing, and all, with growing the brand because I knew that I have it in me to grow people into their potential, and I can watch for it because of the feedback which I get. So, and then when I'm looking at it, so at some point in time, when you have 20 years, 15 years of experience behind you, then I think I would say that probably age gets on to you to kind of be a bit wiser and distill your thoughts, if I can use that word, in a particular way, so that like what actually you want to do in life. And again, I've quoted this in one of these platforms earlier. The sentence that really hit me, and again, there is, if you go on LLMs, they will say that this quote is not attributed to any particular person. Somebody say Leo Tolstoy, somebody say Mark Twain, but they say that there are 2 days in the life that matters. One, the day you are born, and the day you figure out why you are born. So this particular sentence, and I told her about my fascination towards podcasts, right? Somebody repeated that sentence, and the second line, the day you figure out why you're born. I mean, that actually went into, that prompted me to go into a rabbit hole, figuring out what am I good at, asking people, not necessarily like this, but what are people reacting to what? I mean, when I write, people react to what are they reacting to? What are they appreciating? So then that kind of quadrant, right? What am I good at, and what are other people liking it? Because that's okay. I may be good at something. If others don't like it, then it is of no use. So that was my journey at that point. But again, I consider always myself as a work in progress, never complete, always learning. And I'm sure that my co-panelists will agree that they are also in that journey. We are always learning. So I also did that journey. And then the other thing which I did in that was to increase what I call as increase my surface area of opportunity. So I tried to do many things. Again, it might have sounded funny because you have to do anything. So many of the things I taught some classes. Then I created some course, and I was very fascinated about first principles thinking. I created a small course. I did that in 10th standard, and that was because I felt that that is where thinking should actually happen. And then that got a fascinated reply. And that was, I mean, believe me, that was the most nervous experience I had talking to 10th standard kids for 40 minutes, making sure that they sit in the places was a big challenge. And the teachers came back to me and said, hey, Sanjay, that was good because people were engaged. So like, so for example, my son, who is a Gen Z, and when his friends came in, they will say, oh, Sanjay uncle can talk to me in a language that I understand. But that was a good feedback. So you see that feedback comes in, and that is my advice, or rather my suggestion to people is that listen to the feedback which is coming in. You may be trying many things, but listen to the feedback. Where is it? Where is it like? So I understood that a communication is strong, and then I was very passionate about communication, writing, talking, and verbal communication as well as written communication. So that I understood. Okay, now then I wanted to help people, so that became my coaching. So I started mentoring, and all were more or less kind of, once you start, it became inbound. That then people understand, that people reach out, hey, can I add this number? I never say no to a student. As of, I mean, until this time, I never said to a student who reaches out to me that, yes, sir, I need some help. But of course, other people I prioritize based on my time and energy, but students I don't. So that gave me a lot of exposure into what can I do based on what I have, and then what people like. And then it was a journey I did, like podcast again, another medium of communication. So I dabbled in that. I created some videos, and then when I was like, it's a very interesting experience. Why when I go and like take sessions in MBA institutes, these students will come back and be then say, "Oh, sir, what can I?" But then I help them for 11 or 12 hours. And then, what can I do for you? Say, can you make this Instagram video for me? I will give you my audio. So and they did that. So yeah, so there was a little bit of a barter system happening also there. That was also very interesting. And I mean, I'm to say that that video which my teenage college student made performed like 10 times better than the video which I made. So there is always some kind of small joys in that. So for me, it is an evolution which is happening. I don't think I have reached the end point where people say, this is it, what I want. I don't think I will ever reach. I think I will always have a small bucket of 4 to 5 things which I'm playing around with. Maybe 2 things will go, 3 things will come in. Maybe 2 things will remain the same. And is those are the places where I see myself evolving and probably getting better and better.
Wow, that was vibe sharing. The day finding why you were born. Then you said dabble in different things, gather feedback, and I think that's the way to go. If these are some key points that everybody can make a note of, that things that you've been wanting to do, dabble in it, get feedback, see what is working for you, and then go forth with it. And of course, things that you're passionate about. And I see communication being Sanjay's strength. And over to you, any of you. Praful, you can go next and say that. I mean, you also answered it in some way in your previous thing, but maybe you can just give another line or two so that it stands out.
Help me anchor it back. What line?
What mattered most while you were making this choice of doing multiple things?
Okay. So I would say thrill of building from scratch, right? Creation, pioneering. So if you have Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, I would say Brahma, or perhaps a Mahesh, destroy and recreate, right? Destroy, which is a big word these days, disruption. So that's journey. So the Brahma was something that was never done before. And luckily, I came back to India at a time when a lot of this was happening. A lot of new creations were happening. And I got into a halfway house called McCann Erickson, which was almost like a startup ad agency. They'd acquired a company in India, but the atmosphere was all startup, especially for the subsidiary I was working with was it was a direct marketing agency, or it's a below the line advertising. So anything above the line, TV, radio, print, was general agency, and the field was open for whatever you want to create below the line, and you call it below the line, and matwale rahi. And that was the enjoyment of it. And I was lucky to have a country manager head as Saurabh Mistry, another cuckoo Parsi guy. And they are wonderful bosses. You are, if you're able to do, many of you would have seen that Titan story, right? That two cuckoo Parsi bosses. I had benefit of one of them. I mean, someone like that. And so, yeah, of course, the deal was no, yes, you are a multinational ad agency, but you'll not get a fancy office. We started in a basement. So full to desi. 5-star hotels. You figure out the equivalent of your OYOs, or even stay at somebody's home and you get a little allowance to take them out for dinner. So we kind of innovated our way through. So that itself was a creation of certain new policies in that company. The company saves, you also benefit with your, relationship surplus in whichever city that you go to. You create some surpluses as you go along. Um, no business class tickets, cattle class. But the payoff was that you ended up creating some industry firsts. You ended up, of course, you couldn't hire tier one talent, tier one B schools or whatever. So we had to hire from among us only. But that fire in the belly from those kids was so awesome. And I'm as an outcome, I would say today, many of them are leading corporates in India. I mean, airline marketing head comes to mind. All these kids just started off in that crucible of that environment and baptism through fire, may I call it. And they're also running some very large international companies in Australia. I mean, these are all the colleagues that Australia, one person has gone on to be in Shenzhen, China, South Africa, of course, many in the Middle East, many in the US, of course. But look at the kind of work that they're doing. I kind of ping them every once in a while. They're very busy in their world, but I like to keep that relationship alive, and that feel good kind of energizes me. So, sum total, I think it's about the excitement of the journey and the energy that you get from some of the successes of others.
I'll just move to the next question. We have little time, and I'm sure there's a lot that we want to hear from all of you. So um, I will go to you, Sujit, and then of course we'll do a quick round robin on this, on what has been better than expected and what has been harder.
Very good question. I think in my journey, the better than expected was that the biggest thing which I learned about myself, that's the biggest thing, right? That I'm good at training, I'm good at educating people. I do have a kind of a really good knack to make people understand the complex subject in a very simplified manner. And AI is the most complex thing, as all of you know, right? Only 5% knows what it is, right? So I had to make that as simple as it could be for the 95% people, right? And I'm successful in various ways because of the feedback which I get, right? My general feedback is 4.71 out of 5 out of any of the batch people I take, kind of thing, so far, so good, right? So which in general I felt about. So that's a good part of it, the way the first question what here. And the second question was actually, what was the second question?
That what was harder than expected?
See, the harder than expected was somehow, thankfully, being part of the corporate, right? So that's the one thing is the getting frustrated about, marketing what you are building, right? It's one of the biggest challenge. So even if you have made anything fantabulous, very genius kind of a thing, marketing is 70% of the work, right? Or making the things into the market is very, very difficult, right? That's the hardest thing in general, right? So good part of me being into that situation many times, the reason being is that I am a platform builders through and through. Mean to say, I used to only build a platform in which of the company. My platform still in Accenture as a part of their showstopper is still in Exaver as their particular showstopper, right? So I've gone through this cycle of many times, right? And frustration in larger perspective. So what only good thing I avoided this time is that I not set the expectation that I'll be good at in first 1 year, whatever I wanted to, right? So I planned that whole market fit, product fit definitions much earlier, trying to take a bite with various different universities and their students, and ensuring that I figure out a much more market fit, product fit earlier kind of thing, rather than being talking about something that I can do better than anyone else. And another thing, which is that I made a choices not to align with someone or where I couldn't have my identity, right? So that is very cognizant call I taken, right? Your choices when you get tempted to be part of larger canvas, right? But then you lose an identity. So you have to maintain that, not to. So I still I'm happy with my AI with Suchit brand, what I'm doing currently. So that's what the two things which I can tell you, and then that helps to everyone and anyone kind of thing.
Thank you so much, Sujit. Thank you so much. Sanjay, over to you.
So what was easier for me was, I think, many of the things which I did started cross-pollinating. So which is good. So for example, I go to students, I talk with them, the questions they ask make me think harder and probably do a better job at work. And vice versa also in many cases. So that really helped me. And I wanted to build a very strong base of becoming a first principles thinker, and these questions really forced me think harder and harder to communicate in a way that it is built scratch up rather than putting some jargons in place. So that cross pollination was something which I didn't expect, but it expected much more than what I thought. I think maybe harder stuff which I'm still struggling with is how to prioritize stuff. You have limited time typically over the weekend, and maybe sometimes if you're lucky enough then on the weekdays. So which are the ones which I should be spending more energy on? Which are the ones I should actually go deeper into? For example, I think James Clear talks about that we need to sometimes get into the petrol pump, I mean, as we call it, gas station, to fill the gas. For me, that filling the gas is reading and understanding and stuff. So I have to balance, because unless you fill the gas, I cannot go. So I cannot go and talk without filling myself with some knowledge and insights and wisdom and all those, and probably reflect on some of those things. So maybe that is the struggle which I am currently in with, on how much should I fill, and then where should I put which roads should I run, so that I can create a larger impact. I think Suchit was talking about creating that rather.
I love the examples that you give, Sanjay. Over to you, Prof.
Sanjay, gas is passe. EV charge. Coffee charge, EV charge.
Yes, you're right. Next time.
Well, I I knew exactly what I'd signed up for. So, other than that, brutal board meetings or client review meetings, I had not anticipated that, because you are responsible. You cannot say, my VP or my so and so. The buck stops with you. So, no deflection there. So, other than that, exactly what I signed up for. But what was most challenging was, with so many identities, my kids, my wife, my near dear ones are asked, what does your dad, your husband do for a living? Right? How do they explain? And he's an entrepreneur, a businessman, or a software. And then, of course, Desis will always drill down to the next question. So, and then that's where I feel bad about that, putting them through that. That ambiguity, which I love that ambiguity. I can make up a story on the context, and probably they've also now become good at it. Depending on the weather, the day of the week, or the person they're talking to, they'll give you a new story about what this chap is doing for a living. But let's be honest, on the flip side, financial uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's par for the course, but was par for the course, but not as much. I mean, you do hear in the news so much of funding and all of that. It comes with a lot of hardships, a lot of tough decisions, a lot of, oh my God, it is the end of the month and payroll. What do you do? And that's when the real you, why was I born, actually comes out, and that gets questioned a lot. And you have to be really strong in that sentiment, why was I born, to be able to weather that wave. So
thank you so much. Some interesting points of not compromising on the identity that you want to hold for yourself, how to prioritize stuff, and of course financial uncertainty are those things that will remain top of the mind when you start experimenting with new things. Totally understand, having been in this journey myself. So yeah, any advice that you would like to give someone who's beginning to think differently? We had a poll and we had a lot of people, that point in time, about 27% people said they were wanting to think differently. So would love to hear a piece of advice that each one of you would like to give. I know that, Sanjay, you're still in a corporate role, but I think there's a lot of advice that can come through for people who are planning to navigate into becoming an entrepreneur or taking up a portfolio of careers. And that can also be having a full-time role and then doing something else. So over to each one of you. We can start with Suchit this time.
Is it Suchit or is it Sachit?
Yeah, no, you asked question to Sanjay or to me?
To you. Starting to, I mean, it's a round robin that we will do to each one of you.
Yeah. No, I think I'll start then. See, I think I won't, I don't know how to say it's a piece of advice at this time. Rather, I would
Basically,
say,
what should they do and what should they not worry about?
yeah, what not? Yeah,
Or
exactly.
worry about and not worry about.
Not worry about that. No, exactly. I know, I understand. No, I think the first and foremost is if at all you're thinking, and it's what all of you said, you want to start on here, right? First thing and foremost, I think what made me to think is what I liked most, kind of thing, right? I mean, if you're able to identify any of the quadrant out of four, that way that where you want to, or what is it you like most, kind of thing. That is, if at all you like to do something in life, right? And specifically, when I did my back of the envelope calculations for myself, right, is as simple as it could be, right? I said that I would continue to do in kind of another CTO role in another, instead of $2 billion company, it will be in $6 billion company when I had kind of an offer, right? So I'd continue to do that kind of work, right? That's a possibility one, and I learn at the max so much and so on, kind of a thing, right? But what if, and that's what the very clear decision making point where I need to drop everything, because dropping everything and then be on own, it's a very difficult thing, right? You never done in your life, right? So one other thing which I figured out, that if I don't do this thing now, which I'm doing it currently, which is talent architecture, right? The two things going to happen. One is that after 3 years, no one would need this, because by the time someone would have got it, kind of a thing. Okay. And the second part is that my longevity will go much, 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 much. Even in corporate, I would have been drained out by next probably 4 5 years, because I know when being CTO altogether, what happens to you. So I could imagine that what will happen to me after that, from the health point of view, the psychological point of view, or something like that. So that's the second point made me to think. So these are the 2 points made me to think in my quadrant to take a full-time break in career and try to give a shot at for 1.5 years or so. That's what I can say to you, Vandana, is that what made me do whatever I did, kind of a thing, right? Now, next 2 years will tell me, Vandana, is about whether I did the right thing or not. At this time, what I'm seeing the world from here, where I'm now currently on a fence, I see that grass also green, and I can actually jump. So far, so good, right? So that's what I can think of based on whatever kind of a thing.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And over to you, Sanjay, and then we'll go to Praful.
Sure. So one thing which probably I will not worry about is to having figured out everything. I talked about this earlier. Experiment more. Don't think that, okay, will this work, will it not work? I mean, there is no harm. You are, again, I'm talking from my perspective, you're in a corporate role. So in that way, I probably don't have some of the challenges which were faced by my other panelists. So you have a cushion to fall back on. So there is no harm. So you experiment. And then you will figure out. So don't worry about getting it all perfect, that, okay, this is where I want to put my idea. And as we call in product development, right, I mean, if your product is ready, then probably you're too late. Just like Suchit was saying, that if we didn't start that, somebody else would have done that. The second thing which I would say, that one thing probably to do is to open up for small and repeatable experiments, which I told, and open up, have a body language that people can approach you, which is what I always maintain. So you may not be going out and saying that, put a poster on your forehead and say that, hey, like, please come and consult me on this. But there is a certain body language, which I can understand the people on the call who are all seasoned people can understand. Certain body language shows your openness to engage with people. You can be a great thought leader, but if you're closed and the body language shows closed, people will not approach you. So you keep that open. You will not believe the kind of opportunities you will get into in this world of high networked social media. And there are opportunities, people who just randomly reached out to me from HR, actually asking me, Sanjay, you talk about communication, you value proposition and all those. I want you to help me communicate the value proposition of a recruitment team to somebody. So you will get these opportunities from multiple places. Let that opportunities come, your surface area of opportunity increases, which gives you more, I would say, more opportunity to pick the right one you want to spend time with. So do experiment. Don't worry about getting everything figured out, and increase your chances of opportunity by showing the body language of opponent.
Thank you. Awesome.
I have to say something different now. I was about to say body language. Okay. Well, I would, what you should do, being a proponent of, customer first and customer centricity, in this transition, you are the customer. So your KYC starts with know yourself. So conduct a brutal SWOT analysis. Where are you today? Why are you here? And of course, where do you want to be? How do you get there will come along the way. And that becomes your scorecard. Where do you want to be? Right? And I think, therefore, what you don't need to do is create a corporate scorecard and say, log kya kahenge? Forget about that. I mean, culturally, we are all about log kya kahenge? What will people think? Who am I? And what is my calling card? And what's the hat I'm wearing? And what's the badge on it? And then people try to supplement it with some logos they want to wear, and end up spending a lot of money on those logos. Forget about that. So carry your own scorecard. If you've done that to-do list very well, you carry your scorecard. So
Thank you. Great points. Experiment more. If the relevance is now, do it now, and don't wait too much. Don't think too much. Body language, be approachable. I love the surface area of opportunity. You have some nice jargon, Sanjay. Praful says, do a brutal SWOT analysis of your own self. And then, of course, don't worry about log kya kahenge. So with that, I think I'm just going to close this. We're already at 7:31, and I'm going to open this. Hi, Abhijit. Thank you so much for joining in. You can pin him, and of course we can open up the panel to question and answer. And just to let everybody else know, Abhijit was supposed to be on this panel, could not be there today for certain reasons. Till now, he's just joined in, and he brings a very different, skill set. He is completely running a portfolio of jobs, if I may say so. So maybe a few words from you, Abhijit, about your experience, your learnings, and then we will open it to everyone. You can unpin us also, Abhijit, after this, so that we can see everybody else as well.
So first of all, my apologies. I couldn't join owing to a last minute, clash. But Vandana, thanks for letting me in, even if 1 hour late. I am sure a couple of people actually already pinged me that the panel discussion was already going good. So I'm glad that my absence was not felt. So it's all good. Good news that way. Just a couple of minutes, won't take long. This topic particularly is very, very close to my heart, because as I had tweeted earlier, I myself have done some very drastic lateral shifts within my career. I started my career as an automation expert. I am an electronics engineer by training. So naturally, I started as automation expert, but and that was way back in 1986. Okay, and electronics was hot topic in those days, but over a period of time, I realized that it wasn't really panning out the way it was expected to pan out. There were lots of issues, Taiwanese and Chinese companies were much better at electronics development, and importing electronics equipments for automation into India was much cheaper option, much better in terms of quality and scale, and we couldn't sort of cope up with it. And that resulted in forcing myself, taking a hard look, as Praful just mentioned, where am I going? Why am I here? And, is this the right direction? Luckily for me, just around those days, Infosys, Wipro had come on the scene. Internet was, being leveraged, and PC, personal computers was there. All of this, by the way, wasn't there in our curriculum. When I became an engineer, I had not studied, internet. I had not studied personal computing and stuff like that. So the point I'm trying to tell is that, no matter what your background has been, you need to always be looking at where the future is headed, and start, redefining yourself. That's what I did. I moved into hardcore IT in year 2000. That's when I joined Wipro, worked in telecom company. And then, another disruption came in the form of digital. Everything started becoming digital. There were no wireless telecom earlier, but, because of wireless, users started demanding everything everywhere in real time, irrespective of their location. They didn't have to be in front of a computer and things like that, right? So that brought in a lot of disruption. Quite a few companies went, belly up. And that was another time when I had to rediscover myself, and I got into digital, and led some of the digital businesses. Eventually I ended up with Accenture, and that's when I got a global platform to work on, and led mobile application practice for Accenture, based out of India. After that, again, there came a point when I found myself getting into fintech. I eventually joined Barclays, and I ran their digital banking system for quite some time. So this is how, I'm just giving you perspective as to how I made career shifts. I still know some of my colleagues who have been reasonably conservative. They didn't take a lot of risks, right? And as a result of that, some of them are been left behind. Because I could take risks, because I could rediscover myself, right? I find myself always, in the latest emerging technologies. And even today, after now having run my complete corporate life, now I'm advising some of the founders, mainly in terms of helping them uh, globally grow the businesses or scale the business, especially in the AI era. Again, as you can imagine, AI is something I had never touched 4 years ago, and for that matter, none of us, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't learn AI. We have to embrace AI, and that is the only key for us to stay relevant and keep rediscovering ourselves. That is in terms of what is changing and how you need to adapt. However, one of the things that I'll tell you, what I have always leveraged very, very successfully in my career, especially when I'm making these shifts, there are 4 or 5 key skills, if you will, or key experiences that have never changed across these 35, 39 years of my career. And those, I would again share with you and encourage all of you to kind of build your deep expertise in those areas. Number one, first and foremost, customer centricity. Stay close to the customer. That is a skill AI will never replace. Only you can be close to the customer. You can bring in that emotional connect with the customer and know what are the customer's pain point. Try to understand that much more closely. Many times customers won't tell you what their problem is. In fact, many times they'll come to you with some different symptom, different problem. I mean, you need to discover that. You need to peel the onion. You need to help your customer identify the right set of problems that they should be solving for, and then take a consultative approach and build a solution around it. So that's number one, I would say. Customer centricity, no matter what technology wave will come, no matter how many AI technologies would come, that won't change. And stay close to your customers, start understanding your customer lay of the land much closely. Second thing I'll say is that always try to be the thinker of the solution. Identify the problem areas and try to find solutions to overcome those problems. Technology is just a means. Okay, today it is AI, tomorrow it could be something else, yesterday it was digital, 10 years ago it was IT, and 20 years ago it was something else. So that is incidental, right? And so you need to sort of leverage the best of the breed technology at that time, but stay focused on what the problem is and how can I solve it. And if you are able to bring a differentiated solution, again, you would be at the forefront of anything that you are doing. So that, I would say, is the number two skill that you need to continue to bring in. And third is continue to learn, never shy away from learning. And fourth one, I would say, is take risks, take calculated risks. Some of them would pan out, some of them won't. I made a lot of mistakes, but that's the only way to really learn. There's no one who would come and teach you some of these things. You need to take control of your career, and you need to redefine it, and take some calculated risks. Little longish answer, but that's what I would say has helped me, and I'm sure would help anyone else who's looking to redefine their careers.
Thank you so much, Abhijit. Thank you so much. And
first meeting. So just wanted to know the flow actually. So I'm not sure if I'm the first one to attend this, but
no,
yeah.
so for sure, Satya. So this is a session which is being hosted by Zua Life. We support people who are going through transitions in work or life in general. So under the work part of it, we hold such sessions where we say, how can you navigate this transition in a work, or how can you redesign your career at whatever stage you might be. Our focus is on people who are in midlife. The spectrum is pretty big, but this is one of those sessions where we are saying that the session is on how do we, if we are looking at transitioning into having a portfolio of careers rather than just one career, then how do we do that? And we had some people, some experts in the panel who had navigated this journey, and we were, hearing from them that how has this journey been for them.
Okay.
Hope I answered. Anything else that you want to ask, Satya, from any of the panelists? Please go ahead.
So I am seeing that there are a lot of opportunities coming, all different types from different things that I've not done before. Each one of them looks very exciting because I get excited about every new thing that comes up. So how do say no to anything, or how do you decide, okay, I should only do this one or this one? Because one wants to take up everything that's coming up your way. Because that's what's happening right now with me.
First of all, this is a nice problem to have.
Yeah, only thing is that not everything of them gives me the income I need. But yeah, they all look fun.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, you start applying your next set of criteria. So first is whether it's exciting for you, whether it is interesting for you. I think answer is yes. Then you start applying, what's your next criteria, and next, right?
Right.
So basically, Shalini, create your own filters.
Shalini,
I have
think
also
of it like a risk-reward matrix of a mutual fund manager. Since we are talking portfolios, right? So list all your options, risk, reward, and other parameters, and give them grades on it, right? Once you've saturated your reward, which is whether it's fulfilling on a payment perspective, right? Does it pay your bills? Then you move on to the next stock.
Right.
I mean, I could borrow from there if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not just about you. I mean, who's the company who's providing you that opportunity? How good are they? What's the culture there? Are they going to provide you some long-term platform for your career growth? Is that a company you would like to, be with for a longer time, right? Those kind of things also will come into play.
Right.
I can say, call me.
Yeah, I hope
Everybody,
some of your
Shalini and I
questions.
have been colleagues in the past, so I can be
Yes.
able to cute with her.
But somehow, I'm always coming across people who feel that, okay, you have all the knowledge, you have all the experience, and so now it's time for you to share. And so why don't you just share it without, and then you don't want to also refuse anyone because you'd like to mentor, people. But yes, it does take up all your, it takes up your time, and then you have to be very time conscious. I mean, I don't like saying no like that. I mean, it's always.
Yeah. I think time is
Anyone
the
else?
only currency what we are left with.
Right.
We have to be careful about it.
And of course, you can do your own scoring, right? What is priority for you? What is, important for you at this stage? And how do you balance while you mentor? So just do that for yourself. Create a matrix. Say that, like I think Abhijit and Praful both said that, of what's the top thing that you want, and then which are the